Okay, everybody, welcome to our podcast, Connect Within. I'm Damian Browning, CEO and co-founder of Steps to Recovery Homes, and we're here with Andrew Novak. We're going to talk about a little bit about purpose and connection, and just whatever comes up. So, welcome to the show, Andrew.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on.
So, how are you?
Doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Pretty overwhelmed with the starting of the business and everything, as you know how that goes. But it's a never-ending revolving door of problem solving and problems. So
Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
I mean, it's just like life, right? So I was talking with one of my old sponsors, and they had started a couple businesses, and we kind of broke into how it's like a extreme growth period, and it's all compressed into a feedback system that is like right there all the time. So, you have like years worth of problems that you got to compress into like one meeting and solve that problem as quickly as you possibly can to get onto a new problem. So we're experiencing a lot of that just because we're a new business. We're trying to sort out all the operating procedures and everything, and trying to make things as efficient as I possibly can. So my motto for 2026 has been moving forward.
It's a good motto.
This is what we're doing.
Yeah. So talk to me about what was the intent on starting a business? Like what led to that?
So I started off as an employee for a roofer when I got clean. Like 6 months after I got clean, I was tasked with being cleanup guy for my previous employer. That was about 12 years ago, and I've just been in the roofing industry my entire recovery. So the progression inevitably led to me owning my own company. But yeah, I was a laborist for 11 out of those, or 10 out of those 10 and a half years out of those 12 years. Then I kind of broke off into sales, and I think that's kind of what changed my perspective on all that stuff, because it was solely commission. So it was eat what you kill. It wasn't hourly, like you're having work fed to you. You had to go out and do all that. So entrepreneurship kind of came in, and I talked with multiple people, and it's like once you catch that bug of not working for anybody but yourself, it's extremely hard to go back under that umbrella of working for somebody else and not doing any of that. So I learned throughout my recovery, if you don't like the way something's going, you either do something to change it or you complain about it. And I don't like hearing myself complain about it. So we picked up a coffee pot per se and started our own gig.
Nice. And what's your business called?
It's Rim Country Roofing.
Rim Country Roofing.
Yes,
So
sir.
if you guys need your roof done, then Andrew's the guy.
Well, and if you guys have any, you guys want employment opportunities, we hire felons. The construction industry is known for doing all of that stuff. So it's a real help to the community, because we did that job fair with you guys, and I'm pretty sure we got the most participation from that whole thing.
Really?
Yeah.
So talk to me about
Got
that.
a lot.
So the job fair. Yeah, thank you for coming to the job fair and being a part of that. Just so everybody knows, Steps to Recovery Homes puts on a yearly job fair, annual job fair for the community. So what was your intent with wanting to be a part of that job fair?
Because, like I said, I got into the roofing industry when I had 6 months clean. So, and it's been a career for me. I've been able to support my family. I have 2 children, a wife, and I've been able to, support all of them. My wife also works in the healthcare industry. But a lot of that takes schooling, and then they do background checks on all of that stuff. I was super lucky when it came to my felonies, because they were open ended. So once I completed all the hoops that they wanted me to jump through, they made them unclassified or I forgot the word they used, but I was able to get them expunged to misdemeanors. So I don't have felonies on my record, thank God.
Well,
So
you've come a long way, man.
yeah.
I gotta say, when I first met you, to where you're sitting today is a big difference, and it's inspiring. That's why I wanted to kind of get you on here to kind of
Yeah.
just talk about life, kind of talk about your process. Maybe you can kind of share your process a little bit if you're comfortable with that on, what that looked like and why it's so important to find purpose. Because that's what I feel. I feel like when I look at you, Andrew, that I feel like, you've changed your life around and you have put in the work that it takes and you put in the action and the work that it takes to actually make those changes be realistic and sustainable, and with that, you've actually gotten a good life. I mean, now you are married and you have a couple children and you're raising a family and you've started your own business, and it's just you're still super focused on making healthier decisions for yourself and your family and the people that love you. I think that's what recovery really is. It's like, so what does it take to find purpose or to find contentment in your life, and how does that look for you?
So initially, it took a slap in the face of understanding and realizing that this is a life or death issue. And it's not just my life that's at stake, it's everybody that I love. And actually feeling the weight of all of that stuff. It wasn't like, I didn't get into recovery because it was like, oh, it's a better way and all of that stuff. Like I, thought about offing myself often when I was out there running and gunning. So like there was no hope as jails, institutions, or death. I'd been through jail. I'd been through multiple detoxes and suffered all of that stuff. And then, sitting on your couch because I couldn't get in anywhere else, fresh out of jail on all this stuff.
My couch.
Your couch. Having bear sleep on my head. It's very eye opening. I had to feel the negative aspects of living that life in its entirety.
Let's go back a little bit, because I don't know if the the audience, if there is an audience,
Yeah.
I don't know if they don't really know some of the history. So how long have we known each other, and how did that come about?
Probably 12 and a half years now. First, I was in and out of detoxes on all that stuff. Got held up at gunpoint on 67th and Olive in the Olive Tree apartment complex because we were selling. Got put in a bathtub, heard the click of the gun. It was a misfire. And this was just another understanding that the way my mind works and the way rest of society's mind works is completely different. Because my partner that was with me during all of this stuff was fretting for his life as he should be, and I was thinking about, do I have enough to get a fix, for all of this stuff. So that I was introduced to Aurora after all of that because it was like, okay, so I was on the fence with methadone clinic, go to detox, and try and get off and do all of that stuff. So I went to Aurora. I was able to get in there by claiming suicide. I had suicidal ideology, et cetera, et cetera. They finally were able to take me back. Went through all of that. I was in talks with my drug dealer with the visitation, already trying to figure out what I'm going to do when I get out of there to not feel the way that I was feeling when I was in there. Ended up getting out of there. Our drug dealer ended up moving in with us. So, getting out of that whole instance was impossible. My mom ended up coming down here because she was going to try and get me to detox on her couch. She came there for about 10 minutes, got too overwhelmed by the in and out of people. She left to the McDonald's, and her and my stepdad sat at that McDonald's for about an hour just bawling, saying, we're probably not going to be able to get my son out of here, because he's just too much into the shooting gallery. So they finally was able to come back, circle around, pick me up. I tried to do a detox on their couch. About 2 nights of me staying up till 2 in the morning, punching my legs because I had restless leg syndrome so bad. They were like, okay, we can't handle this. We're going to take you to the hospital. I was like, there's nothing that the hospital can do, man. You know, they're just going to give me fluids, and then they're going to, you know, treat me like a drug addict and then turn me loose. So they took me to the hospital after 2 nights of experiencing that. They opted out. They're like, I can't deal with all of this stuff, you know. I remember waking up from my micro nap because, you know, I was able to get like 20-minute spurts of sleep in there to where I like wasn't jittering off or any of that stuff. And I remember my mom and my stepdad were sitting on the front porch smoking a cigarette, and they were talking about how they just want their son back, the one without track marks all down his neck. So that was a little inkling of like the negative consequences that I felt. That was the beginning of me feeling all of this negative consequences for my actions on all this stuff and not being able to just go use and cover it up. Mm-hmm. So they took me to the hospital. Same exact thing that I said would happen. You know, they treated me like just a regular bottom of the barrel drug addict. You know, like, we're not giving you any opiates or any narcotics. And I was like, that's not why I'm here. I'm just here to try and have my parents get some help with this thing. And so they gave me fluids, and then right when I was getting ready to leave, this one person from the guidance clinic ended up coming over, and she sat down with a notebook, and she was like, okay, well, take me through your drug usage. And I did, and she was like, oh, okay, so you're a high-risk drug user. Are you a IV user? And I was like, yes. And so she was like, okay, well, you qualify for this inpatient program, Hillside over the hill. It's a 30-day inpatient program. And I was like, well, that's way too long. You know, I'm not that sick to go away from everything that I know for 30 days and then, you know, come back out. So they did their whole spiel. I ended up leaving that facility about one more day of that, and then I ended up hitchhiking back down to Phoenix. Stole my ex-girlfriend's car at the time, went over to the Plug's house. We came back over into the Verde Valley to sell some stuff, and we got caught up. Somebody told on us. So that was October 30th, the day before Halloween. And I remember sitting in there, and of course the dealer that the stuff was his, he got bailed out instantly. And me and the other guy just got to sit in there for 2 weeks, and that's where I met up with the best detox facility I've ever been in, which is county jail. Yeah. You know, because there again, I had a padded detox every single time. You know, I go in there, I'd spend the 36 hours in hell, right? Kicking, waking up, slamming my head up against the brick wall, the whole run of the gamut. Then after I experienced that, they give me Subutex, and then everything's all good again. Yeah. There's nothing bad anymore.
Well, we don't have to get into the whole thing about that, but they're giving that in jail now too.
Yeah.
So it might not be the best detox.
So yeah, maybe not anymore, but it was what I needed in order to feel that hopelessness, feel that despair, feel that like, oh, okay, now I want hope. Hope is preferable in this whole sense instead of just a fix. Got out. My mom and my stepdad come driving up because I was getting ready to run back down to Glendale to get another fix. And, you know, my mom looks back. She picks me up on the walk of shame and is like, are you done yet? You know? And 100% of myself was done. You know, at that point, I was like, yes, I'm so done. I'm so willing to do all of this stuff. And 20 minutes later, I was on the phone trying to get loaded again. So, you know, that was my first step. That was my admittance of powerlessness to this whole thing, because 100% of myself was I was dead honest when I said I'm done, but I still didn't have anywhere to take that. So then I ended up doing that. Then that started the process of where we ended up meeting up. You know, I was trying to do the detox on my mom's couch again. She was looking up for alternative treatment for me because, you know, they couldn't sit on me long enough to keep me clean or do any of that stuff. And then we checked out a few other recovery homes, and they were like, well, if you use, you're done. You don't get a job, you're done. And it's like, I haven't had a job in 5 years. I'm using on the daily basis, so I'm already done before I even get a shot at this thing. And then I ended up coming over to your guys' facility, and you guys did the interviews, you and Ann. And I remember you sitting across the table saying, I don't know if you're ready for this or not. And, you know, we got done with the interview process. You didn't really know if you were ready or if I was ready. I don't think there was enough on your end that you saw. And Ann was like, just go give us like 10 minutes and then come back in. So you guys had talked, and I guess Ann said that she saw something in me, that she doesn't know what it is, but she saw something in me. So you guys invited us back in, and then we started formulating a plan to actually get me clean in order to get into the facility, because we had to be clean. I had to pass the UA, and you know, I was smoking weed up until that point, all that stuff. So
That's where my couch came in.
that's where your couch came in. You and Ann and my mom ended up formulating a plan because she couldn't sit on me long enough. You guys agreed to sit on me long enough. And then, you know, like, we've had talks about all of this stuff, and it's a huge benefit because like, I know drug of choice doesn't really matter that much, but in this sense, like, it mattered because we didn't have the same experience with detox. So you gave me no grace. We hit the ground running. You know, I was detoxing. The weight of my own skin felt heavy. Every morning when I woke up, I was just like, oh man, I just feel so heavy. And you were PR chair at the time. So we'd go around to all the facilities and, you know, dish out information pamphlets for what we were dishing them out for. And we were going to the sheriff's department, we were going to the police force, we were going to all of these places that I'd been running from my entire life. And like day 2 of being clean, you're subjecting me to all that stuff. We were talking to the sergeant, we were talking to all these people. And there was this big, like, 50-pound tote that you were like, just pick that up, go. And mind it, the weight of my own skin felt heavy. And so that helped me just getting moving, man. I'd take a bath at the night because that would help, but...
It's like getting out, it really pushed you to get out of your comfort zone.
100%.
And what's funny is looking back on that, it's like, you know, I've always been built that way, like, just get moving, because, you know, and that it kind of, it's good, but it's hard because, you know, it's hard for people to do that. But once you do it, it really helps. But, like, I'm thinking, like, you know, those people that we went and saw, I wonder, because I don't even know if you were 80 pounds at that time. I mean, you look like death warmed over.
I was 96 pounds.
I wonder what the sheriffs and all that and the probation were thinking, like, this, who is this guy promoting this 12-step fellowship with this dude that looks like he's loaded? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it was
they
great.
Probably thought righteously about it. They were probably like, this is a drug addict, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, everything happens for a reason. I think that was a huge free. I mean, I wonder how many people we helped when we did that. That's a trip.
Yeah.
You know, going down that lane. Like, we never know what, you know, we're doing in the moment, but...
No. Or the impact that it's going to have, you know, or the story that it's going to create 10 years from then, you know?
Well, and then we got you into the program, and you were an example, and you did stuff, and I think we made you a house lead, and I think your first job was, gosh, I think it was the nursery down there.
Verde River Growers.
Verde River Growers.
That was for like 3 months. I got my bike stolen. Is wind going against me both ways, literally, you know. Like every morning when I go in there, the wind would be blowing this way. Every day when I left, it was another case. I was a field worker there, so it was just moving. You know, I didn't have time to sit down and think how crappy this was or any of that
I've
stuff.
been through a lot, brother.
So
It's been a lot of stuff, you know. And now, I feel like whenever I think about you, I feel connection. I feel like, you know, we don't talk all the time, but I know that, like, I consider you a good friend. You know what I mean? I think and you inspire me. You know what I mean? So going through that process, it's good that we talk to everybody about that, because that really shows, like, this podcast, you know, Connect Within, I really want to talk about real life situations and show people that, like, you can do that. You can find purpose. So let's move forward. I don't want to stay too much in that all that story, but let's move forward and kind of what I want to know about is, like, you know, I want the audience to know about real stuff, like how you found purpose, how you found self-worth, how you did all these things and where you're at today, and how that's so inspirational, so maybe other people can see that and realize, like you said, man, you found hope. And you know, that life continues to hit us.
Oh yeah.
Whether we're self-medicating or not, life shows up. You know what I mean? And we've been through a lot of stuff. So you've been through a lot of stuff, and you pushed through it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think I can break it down super, super simple, and then we can kind of expand on a lot of that stuff. The simplest explanation and like what you should be focusing on, or what I focused on all along the way was, you know, I didn't get self-respect. I didn't get any of that stuff first. First thing I got was a relationship with God, you know, which allowed me to give what I thought life should be, what I thought health should be, what I thought over to something that was way more caring than I was to myself at the entire time, which in turn actually allowed God to heal me. So that relationship with myself came from a relationship with God.
Okay.
And then that allowed me to gain up enough confidence to then share it with other people. So I didn't really have a relationship with something that was greater than myself aside from addiction. And that was, that entailed a lot. Like I said, like that at its core is basically what it is. But to expand on a lot of that stuff, you know, addiction entails me being around top dogs in that world, people that are doing the stuff in order to get the stuff. You know, it entails more than just doing addiction, because it entails the lifestyle that it does to support the addiction. Same thing with recovery. You know, it's not just sitting in the meetings. It's not just sitting with your therapist. It's really about what do you got to do to support all of that stuff. What in your foundation do you need to have so your life is your recovery?
Expand on what that looks like.
Okay, so like you were saying, all along the way, like in my group of people that was in the recovery home with me, we were all doing the same stuff. What was different in that? Between my story and my experience with all of this and somebody else's story, we were all sitting in the same life coachings. We were all going to the same meetings. We were all doing all of this stuff. What was happening outside of that was the support that I was getting to support all of that stuff. So I was networking with people in the fellowship that were successful and doing what I inevitably wanted to be doing later on, sticking with the winners. You know, I was putting a seatbelt on and relying on my training. You know, like picking up the phone every day, calling somebody that's doing better off than you are, that is outside of that situation. Spending all of my time with people that are removed from that type of lifestyle. So if I even want to go back to that, I feel so uncomfortable. I'm probably going to run back into healthy lifestyle, because all of my peers are all about being healthy and recovering on all this stuff. Again, gaining a relationship with God. You know, like all of this stuff that supports those things. And sitting inside of Hillside, I had a sponsor before all of that stuff. So when I went in there, I used one of my phone calls, and he was like, dude, just take this as a sponge and just soak up everything that you possibly can. You know, so it's like those simple things that started off at the very beginning have, as long as I imply those throughout my day-to-day living, that they're like a well that doesn't run dry.
Isn't that a trip?
You know?
Like, I love how you said that, like the simple things that start. Like, I see a lot of people, you know, that have great recovery or whatever, and their life gets hard, and it's like they quit doing the simple things. And it's like, I even have felt that in my life. And it's like those simple, uncomfortable things that we didn't know how to do. And what I'm taking from what you're saying is like you use tools. You started grabbing tools outside of the norm of little things that people said that would actually help you build that foundation. And I mean, the tools can be different for everybody. You know what I mean? But some of those that you said were very, very instrumental in your life, and I think have been instrumental in mine too, and other people.
Yeah.
I mean, looking outside for something to believe in is just really spending that time. Sometimes it's so uncomfortable, but if we don't do that, we're left to our own devices, and we're in our head, and we're listening to our own self. You know, we're not like, we don't have that faith. You know, I think that's a huge thing. Calling people. I mean, nobody wants to call anybody. I still don't want to call anybody. But calling another friend and telling them about how I feel or what's going on has been so beneficial. You know,
I remember one of the days we were sitting outside of on your back porch in your recliner chairs, and we had a meditation going on. And I remember it was like 15-minute meditation. And after we were both done, we opened our eyes, looked at each other, and we had tears streaming down our faces. It's just like, dude, we don't take enough time to just slow down, take it easy. You know, again, that's something my first sponsor used to always say: slow down and take 3 deep breaths. Dude, that tool in and of itself has gotten me through so much. The tool of leaning into it, that has helped me out so much because I will journal till my fingers are bleeding. I will pick up the phone and I will call 20 people. I'll drink 12 gallons of water. I can take anything healthy and overdo it and make it unhealthy. But there's that one thing of just slowing down and taking a couple deep breaths that, you know, I underutilize until somebody comes along, smacks me inside of the face with a 2x4 and says that. And then it's like, and then I do it. And then I'm like, why haven't I been doing this? And this is the best, you know?
I fall short on that, man. Everything just gets so busy.
It does.
It's funny because, like, you know, the more you do, the more you get. You know what I mean? And, like, you know, we only have this life to live. So slowing down is, like, something that I just need to continue to work on. And, you know, it's okay if a plate drops, right?
Yeah.
And breaks.
Don't sweat the small stuff. It's definitely, and like I was saying, when you start and own a business, it all compounds, man. You know, because if you don't solve that problem, you're holding multiple people back, you know, and their families back and all of that stuff. So it's like one problem, solve that, just so we can get on to the next problem. It's not even so we can just sit back and relax. It's one problem so we can solve the next problem, so we can solve the next problem.
Wow, that kind of sounds like my life.
So that's how we were, you know, that's what we're prone to doing in all areas of our life. It's not just business, you know, like with me doing the steps, it was the same thing. If I don't have a problem, let me drudge one up just so I can have something to work on, you know? So of course that has always been a big challenge for me as well, but I've tried to kind of navigate it to where I have my 15 minutes in the morning. You know, before I get my day going, that's my 15 minutes that I have for myself, and that's like such a small ask. You know, when I'm bringing it up, like I feel like 15 minutes, really, is that all you're willing to allot yourself? But it's like that 15 minutes is even a task in and of itself, you know? So I at least owe it to myself to give myself that 15 minutes, because it's been a never-ending problem of as soon as I lay my head on the pillow, it's like takes a little while to go sleep, and then I go to sleep. As soon as I wake up, I literally put my feet on the floor and I'm off and running. And that's whether I got 4 hours of sleep, whether I got 6 hours of sleep, whether I got 8 hours of sleep. It's just like it's always been a repeating pattern. So
Well, and I think, okay, I don't want. One of the things I'm hearing that really resonates with me is like this illusion of how we should do more or we should do this, and it's like it's not really. None of these illusions are realistic. Just like the self-worth. Like we started this conversation with purpose, and it's like you're talking about doing these little tiny these tools that actually have. It sounds to me like that's what you're saying. That's built this self-worth. It's not like we look at like why don't I feel better about myself or why do I want to be here when I'm here. So like that's where the principles come in with patience and the baby steps. And you're saying you've used these little tools over your recovery to actually build this self-worth, which has brought you to, because I'm sure it was scary to jump out and start your own business.
Oh yeah.
I mean, gosh, I can't even imagine. Well, I can, but
Again, it's the relationship that I have with God that pushes a lot of this stuff, because a lot of the times that's at odds. It's like I'll be driving down the road and somebody will come onto my heart. And I'm like, really, at this time right now? And we have a relationship to where if something comes on my heart, if a conviction comes down, I know I need to pick up the phone and call that person. And I can't tell you the amount of times that miracles have happened just for me taking that conviction, picking up that phone, and calling that other person. I'm getting chills right now talking about it.
so am I.
Okay.
I get it.
So
it happens
like
to me, yeah.
So like,
Well, that's the connection
business,
piece, right?
The business came along the same way. It was like, really, right now? It's like, so I was selling a lot of jobs. I was doing great. I was out there working every day, 12 hours a day. Like, cool, this is trucking and driving. I'm going to make a pretty good paycheck after this year. And then all of a sudden, nothing. No matter what I tried doing, nothing. I was like, what's going on here? And I get talking with my business partner, and, it's kind of like, okay, now's the time, to probably start up your own gig. So I had to hit the books. All along, financial insecurities are coming down the turnpike. It's just like, I'm not getting any funds right now.
Well, and you had the family too right now, right, when this is happening.
And God was like, no, we're going to make it dang near impossible for you to get any jobs until you get your license, go do all that stuff. So for about a month, I just hunkered down in the books, did all of that, went and got my license. I tested before all of that, before I felt ready, because I'm usually like an over preparer. Like I like to feel like I'm going to ace the test before I even take it. But I had a couple people just go take it, dude. Just go take it. If you pass it, good, awesome. You don't need to knock it out of the park. Just pass it, get your license. So I ended up doing that. I passed it, got my license, and then, and then the starting a problem, all of that stuff. But again, it's that relationship, it's that connection with God that I have that is like, even if I don't agree or want to be broken outside of my comfort zone, like whenever you're asked to share or whenever you're asked to go give of time to somebody when you don't have any time or any of that stuff, it's like, I know that that's a conviction. I know that that is a connection between me and my higher power. So I need to go through with that,
So when you put this together, it was a huge. You feel like a huge calling.
Yeah.
And what the direction you were supposed to go.
Yeah, me and my partner prayed about it numerous amount of times. He's super conservative when it comes to a lot of that stuff as well. So, it's we both did our processes, ended up coming together, and I was like, yeah,
And how's it been going?
It's been rough. Yeah. It's been super, super taxing. It has called a lot from myself. It has called me to provide a lot more of myself than it is being an employee. Because like I'm responsible for all the aspects.
Like you were saying, so now it's like the problem thing. So
yeah,
being an entrepreneur and being a boss, you have to worry. It's not just about you and your family. I mean, obviously that's your You know, like
Your
with me,
bed's
it's
better.
about me and my family,
Yeah.
but then I got to worry about all the employees, and I'm constantly trying to do it. It's crazy,
Yep.
you know, because that's on. You know, I don't know if my employees feel that or not, but for me, it's like they matter. So I'm constantly trying to make that work too, while fulfilling the mission.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a lot.
It is. It's a lot of understanding that everybody's not going to attack it with the same veracity that you do because it's not their baby, you know. But at the end of the day, I've had to have, you know, conversations like, hey, this business is a baby and my goal is to keep it alive. So I've had to have conversations with letting people go, all of that stuff. That I've learned a lot of lessons on all that stuff to not make the job so personal when it comes to people. Just because some of the times that somebody's just not the right fit for the position, you know. And me wanting that to be the position for them ends up convoluting and getting in the way of all that. You know, so it's a classic case of I can't want it more than you do. You know, but all along the while still keeping an atmosphere to where, hey, you can come here. You know, I think this is a good position for you. There's just a few things in your character that you need to raise the bar on a little bit, you know. And
Right.
again, it's like we're not going to ask you to demean yourself or degrade yourself. We're actually going to ask you to call more from yourself to come into this role, you know. So
I think that's being a good leader and a good influencer in the world. I mean, how many times gosh, I even do it. I'm so bad at just not really co-signing people's stuff, but not being as direct as I probably should for somebody else's growth. Does that make sense?
yeah,
You know,
of course it does. We're all human. We can only see this, not this, until after the fact, you know.
so talk to me about being a father.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like you were kind of saying, like I didn't really come to recovery with a purpose. I've just kind of developed one over time, and that one was kind of bestowed upon me. It was like, now you have the purpose of being a father. So, to twins. So, it has been, man, it's been an awesome journey that, again, like anything in my recovery that calls me to bring more of myself to the table in order to keep that stuff together, is by far the best things for my recovery. Like relationships that call me to provide more of myself to the relationship. Parenthood that calls more of me to be present, to do all that stuff. So, I mean, one of the biggest issues has been disconnecting from the business and making it solely about whoever I'm with in that time, because a lot of that stuff is just like tugging at me like, oh, there's a problem that needs to be solved in the business right now. So I've been doing a lot of action towards all of that stuff, you know. Before 7 days a week, you know, 24 hours a day was to the business. You know, and now I've been like, okay, well, this specific weekend we're setting it, and no matter what happens with the business, this is going to my boys. You know, this is going to the family. This is going to all of this situation, and you know, the wife can see it. So like, other people can see it, so it's kind of a little bit of validation. But you know, that's been the struggle that I've been attacking lately, is just being present with my kids and making time and space to be present with them.
It's hard when you got all that
Super
stuff in your
hard.
head.
Super hard.
But
And
it's actually, I mean, that's that fulfillment, that's that contentment, that's that, you know, that present in the moment with your family. Like, I don't even know. Like, I do know, but that's that connection.
Yeah.
You know, that's where you feel like, I feel like connection is the answer to all of our problems. I really do. I don't know how we get there. There's a lot of different ways to get there and
present.
understand what connection means to you.
do you think you can get connected if you're not present?
No. But
So
that's
I
one of our
think that
biggest. That's why I
one of the
want.
biggest,
That's why I want.
you know,
This is what
I
this
think that that's
podcast
the
is
biggest-
about.
I think that's the biggest thing with
Yeah.
with being connected is being present.
It is,
You
and
know?
so this podcast is all focused around purpose and connection and why it's important. And I made it connect within and wanted to do that because my own journey has been so hard to do that.
Yeah.
Because of all the things you're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, but I look back on my kids, like, my three boys are so. I mean, there's time where I feel like I put the organization before them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I know that you're that's something, but it's like, I can't change that. But I think talking about it, we can talk about ways to, like, if we get an audience and stuff, so it would help, like, because that's it. Everybody's going through that.
I think always be wrestling with it.
Yeah, wrestling with it, but we need tools and we need hope that we can do it. We can do it.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, so in order to get people into connection, right, you have to call them out from their busy lives. You have to arrange a time in a set place, which is here. And now we're here in front of each other talking about this stuff. We're present.
Yeah, but it's taken me 3 or 4 or 5 years to get this going.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I bought the equipment probably 6 months ago.
But again, when you're sitting with your sponsor or you're sitting with a peer or you're sitting with anybody, it's like the presence is what allows you to connect with somebody. Even over the phone, it's not the same as, like, I'm present with you right now. My phone has been ringing, but I'm not answering it. I made a decision to not answer the phone. The phone doesn't matter.
Self-discipline. That's
right
a
now.
huge principle we could talk about when we're talking about connection is self-discipline, right? We all have to, because it's going to keep going.
Impulsive.
Well,
Want to touch all this stuff.
Well, yeah, like me, it's like, I feel like, and you said something earlier about this, I feel like, there's so many problems, and what happens is if I don't solve those problems right away, they pile up, and then I get more overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So I'm actually, because of my self-centeredness, some of the way I operate is to try to protect me.
100%.
You know what I mean? So I'm like,
So
to not answer my
overstimulated all
phone.
the time.
I mean, yesterday I didn't answer my phone for 4 calls, right?
They just
and then I had to call them back because that's who I am.
Yeah.
So that took time, right? And so it's I think being aware of it's good too, though. I think that's probably the start.
Yeah. And that's the wrestling with it part that I'm talking about is don't just accept that it's a problem and it's just going to be that way forever. Just consistently try and chip at that problem because it's like, once you stop wrestling with it, that's the day it takes over,
How old are your boys?
They're 3 years old.
3 years old. And I'm sitting here and I'm just getting more inspired by the minute because you're a man that has just pushed through and built something, and you're still going to go through your struggles.
Oh, yeah.
But you have an opportunity because you're aware and you're trying to practice these principles to be an example for your children. And I think that's what happened with me. Even though I wasn't perfect, I was an example for my boys. And now I have, my boys are all out and they're all good men. They're all good people and they're doing good things. And like, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're kind of just waiting for that. So there's a couple things that I see going on with all of that. Because they're 3, so they've been mostly dependent upon mom, feeding, nurturing, all of that stuff. So around 4, they start getting separated from that. So it's going to be the wife comforting her from that detachment process and me taking a little more of the reins on teaching them this is how you be a man, but me, I'm sitting on the other end of all that, getting super excited about all this because it's like, now's my shot, to go take them out fishing, go, and have those deep talks about, hey, like, I know you're struggling with that first kiss on all that stuff, but, let's walk through this together and show you how to kind of do that because I never got that. My dad wasn't around. And her father was never really around either. So there's just that missing. And again, I'm kind of chomping at the bits to be like, I'm up to bat. Yay, thank you for taking me off the bench, because, again, I feel like it's my purpose. It's my purpose to raise these boys, But that also took it acknowledging the lack of responsibility that I had prior to all of that stuff. Like I had a huge learning curve from being single to being in a relationship. Because when I was single, I could just wake up and decide, hey, I'm going to tell my boss I'm going to go to Costa Rica by myself for a week. Save up enough funds, buy the plane ticket, go over there. You know, now I have the family I need to take into consideration. You know, it takes more of myself going into all of that stuff. I couldn't do that ever without running it by. But it took a few smack in the forehead to be like, oh, I'm not the only one that, you know, I'm responsible for. You know, I need to take into account that my significant other, now my children, want parts of myself as well. So that's kind of where I can't dictate my life off of feeling good. And I went over this in Chris's podcast on all of this stuff. It's like my mindset can't be to happiness. It's got to be towards growth. Because like 90% of the time, I'm not happy per se. I'm content with the way things are. I have reverence to all of this stuff. But if I keep a growth mindset, like, hey, I'm just about growing. What can I learn from this situation? What can I do? All of that stuff. 100% of the time, I can hit that mark. I can learn something from whatever position I'm in, as long as I attack it with a growth mindset versus a happiness. Like I solved this problem, I'm gonna be happy. Like that sounds exactly like my addiction. You know, I get a fix, I'm gonna be happy. And you know where that got us? That got us backed into a corner wanting to off ourselves. So if I think like if I solve this problem, I'm going to grow. 100% of the time I can hit that mark, you know?
Well, I think, and I agree. I mean, I think happiness is is just like an illusion, and I think it's a byproduct of doing the right thing. Like the growth brings that contentment. I think contentment's a better word for me. It has been. I chased happiness for so long, and I still kind of do. Mm-hmm. But I think being aware of it is like I realize that it's just an illusion, man. To be happy all the time or be whatever. What I'm really looking for is to feel content. In order to feel content, I have to feel like that I'm doing the best I can, and that I have some purpose in life, and I'm trying to make healthy decisions.
Yeah.
As best I can. I mean, so.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not happy per se telling my, one of my 3-year-olds no. But it's a necessary thing that I have to do in order to teach them, like, hey, just because you want something doesn't always mean that it's going to be the best decision for you. So I have to take the backlash of, let me throw a temper tantrum on all this stuff. But if I look at that with a mind state of like, I'm just helping them grow in a healthy manner, that eases a lot of that suffering that I get from not being happy doing it, because it's like most of the righteous stuff that we do or strive to do doesn't come from me just thinking I'm going to be happy on the other side of it, because death of loved ones, going through just super traumatic instances in your life, I can dictate how I'm doing with how I'm feeling. And that's not the right way to kind of gauge your internal compass on how you're doing, because I was doing everything right, but I just felt so wrong, so it's, and in addiction, I felt like everything was done right, but everything that I was doing was not so correct. So, it's, again, and all of that just comes from my relationship with God. Is it loving, caring, greater than myself?
Yeah, so let's leave with that. So, like, I think that's, so that's what you're saying. Like, all of this really comes from that.
Mm-hmm. Simple.
Pretty simple. We got pretty complex with it, but I think it's pretty simple, So I don't want to keep you all day. So we need to wrap this up. But, I really appreciate you coming here and sharing a little bit. I mean, you and I could talk, gosh, about a principle for probably hours and go back and forth and blah, 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 but I just want to kind of start having these conversations with people that have not only been through the program, but also people that have built things, and just kind of get it out there, like really talk about how to get there or why to get there, and show some hope. We want to be able to show people that it is possible. It is possible. And how do we get back to connection? How do we do that? I think if you don't have a relationship with a power greater than yourself or something, some kind of, obviously that helps a lot. Obviously it's going to probably cause separation, right? Because if you have faith in something that everything happens for a reason or whatever your beliefs are, it kind of brings back the intent to stop and be mindful and practice some really healthy principles around how you're acting in life.
Slow down, take 3 deep breaths.
Okay, I'm going to try to do that. So, all right, man. Well,
presence.
Well, any lasting thoughts from you?
Not really.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for coming, Andrew. And this is Connect Within podcast. We're happy you listened. And next week we'll have somebody else. All right.